There's a bomb in the crawl space, mama, sweating under the floorboard.
Hey everybody, welcome to Discourse, the only podcast in space, which is not to say the only podcast that is available in space. Astronauts do have the internet, but it's the only one they like. My name is Ian.
that was good, man. Thank you. Oh, hey, what's up, guys? Sorry, real low energy coming from this sector of space. This is your other host, Chad Smith, 10-time winner of the Captain William T. Rucker. That's right, he's a captain now. Cosplay contest.
Yeah.
So just right off the bat, I just want to clear the air. I'm sure a lot of people are wondering. If you're wondering if this is a political podcast, the answer is no. It's a travel podcast, an interdimensional travel podcast. And I've just got off the phone with Rick Steve, and he's going to come in here pretty soon. So be looking out for the next episode. We'll have Rick Steve on the cast as a regular contributor, talking about astral projection. So that's exciting.
Should be fun. So we like to start off every episode by talking about the news. Today is June 16th, 2021, and we're going to look at a very unique source of news that I've never heard of before today. What are we looking at?
Yeah, so we're looking at Naked Capitalism, which is their own tagline here is fearless commentary on finance, economics, politics, and power. They have several contributors, but this particular article that we'll be looking at is one from one Jerry Lynn Schofield. So just to give you in their own words what Naked Capitalism is, besides their tagline here, I'm going to read you some selections from the About section here. Naked Capitalism is not for the faint-hearted. Over time, I've come to conceive of naked capitalism as an effort to promote critical thinking through the medium of a finance and economics blog. In December 2006, I started writing because there is an obvious underreporting in the U.S. of the severity and extent of the underpricing risk in all credit instruments. It didn't take any great insight to recognize that. It's hard to state emphatically enough how obvious it was to someone with reasonable financial markets experience who simply read the Financial Times and Bloomberg that the official narrative was a crock. So, Naked Capitalism, I guess, was a sort of a news analysis blog that cut their teeth in the 2008 financial crisis, but was writing about these things well before that, because a lot of their contributors are people that are kind of know about the industry, right? So Jerry Lynn Schofield, whose article we'll be taking a look at, she describes herself in the byline as someone who has worked as a securities lawyer and a derivatives trader. And she's currently writing a book about textile artisans. Don't know what the fuck that means. Never read her book, but looking forward to it.
Fun.
I guess people who make artisan, handcrafted, free-range, organic, non-GMO silk. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Can you GMO silk?
Well, how do you think we domesticated silkworms, bro?
Silk comes from worms?
Oh. Yeah, they like shit it out. So I mean, anybody's wearing silk, you're literally wearing a garment made of poop. So I hope you're happy with yourself. Yeah. So if anybody hasn't heard, our big time boy, our money maker, everybody's favorite hero, Jeff Bezos of Amazon
Bezos fame. Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah. Well, I think he's more better known as being a bald son of a bitch. So he's going to space.
That bald bitch.
He is. Yeah. No. He's going to space, folks. He's packing his bags. He's putting on the space suit. He's going to space. So this article that we're looking at here is called Space Trip. Bon voyage, Jeff. It's basically an analysis, or I guess a breakdown of an article that ran in the Wall Street Journal, which we covered last episode.
So wait, so this article is like a response to an article?
Yeah, it's kind of like so because I want to convince everybody that I have a fresh take on literally anything that happens in the world. I read a lot of these news analysis sites. Naked Capitalism is one of them because I also one of my recent pastimes has been gambling. I just lost $20 in a dice game. Cole, if you're listening to this, you can go fuck yourself.
I won $10. It was a good time.
Off of me. So
Well,
you
I
can
won
also
off
go
of
fuck
Cole.
yourself. Yeah, well, it's money in, money out. The Monopoly man's laughing the whole time. The Western Union executives are laughing. Whatever happened to that dude? Wiring money really fell off. You know what I'm saying? It really. The only time people wire money now is like to pay their rent to their slumlord. You know what I'm saying?
Man, you do not know about money.
Oh. Well, that's why I read this blog, Naked Capitalism.
To explain money?
Yeah, so because well, I'm just incredibly like I guess you could say savantified. I have a very narrow focus, right? I went to school for a very specific thing and do a very specific thing as a job, and my side gig is also very, very specific. Of course, that's convincing people that communism is the one true path, and I get paid very handsomely to do it. So I don't know shit about money. Money is it's a means to an end, right? I call them. You know what I call money?
What?
Freedom vouchers.
Ugh.
I don't know, but I think I
Christ.
heard that from a Ty Lopez video. I think one time I was watching a Ty Lopez video. He's like, I'm just up here in the Beverly Hills with my cars and my books, and if you call money freedom vouchers, you will be rich. And I was like, fuck.
Wait.
He makes a good point.
I hate that so much. And I hate that it's accurate.
Well, you can thank a libertarian, folks.
Oh, God.
So let's talk about Jeff Bezos going to space. I would kind of, wax confrontational, I guess, about how naked capitalism has all of these, fucking controversies, and that everybody that writes for the blog / news analysis site are all fascists, and that they like hate their grandmothers, and they can't boil pasta. It's just all kinds of slanderous, attacks, takedowns on these people. The thing about this is naked capitalism is that the person who started it is writing under a pseudonym, first of all.
Really?
So yeah.
Okay.
Ives Smith is this lady that started it. I think by now people have cracked the case as to what her actual identity is. I can't remember where I read this or if this is even true, so definitely don't hold me to it, but I think her name's like Susan or like Beatrice. I think it's Susan.
Beatrice?
It's probably like Susan Zolpo or something.
Why?
Well, I don't know.
Zolpo?
She's that's who founded this town that we're recording in. By the way, folks, it is nice to be back in the Little Italy studio. It is so nice to be back here. I mean,
where everything started.
Yeah, I mean it's just so nice to drive out here. But I'm getting a little.
It's also just a little slice of Italy.
Yeah, absolutely.
In every way.
I mean, when I was driving up here, I literally passed this fucking ramshackle ass fucking like split level shack that had a fucking huge Italian flag like hanging on it. I'm like, it's like all tattered. I passed like I literally passed a vineyard,
Yeah.
I passed the St. Francis of Assisi Catholic Church. So, I mean, it's safe to say, folks, I'm home.
And not a restaurant in sight, only home kitchens.
Only home kitchens, and you have to be invited to them, and they don't invite certain types of people, if you know what I mean.
I've never been invited.
So you must be a certain type of person. I'm not really sure what I meant by that. I'm 100% sure that the only way, since they're Italian Americans, and they are in Arkansas, I can only assume the way that they got like accepted by the general populace is just by being as racist as possible, so that people like kind of forget that they're like
European.
Well, I'd say ethnic European or whatever that
Yeah.
But I'm getting beside myself and then beside myself again here. But
what were the what are the mechanics of the Jeff Bezos thing? Like, in what way is he going to space?
Oh, so the sort of angle on this article, and sort of the angle I think both on the Naked Capitalism article and also the Wall Street Journal article, is that it's basically opening up an industry where space tourism, basically opening up the space industry tourism industry. And Jeff Bezos and his fucking poor brother. Can you imagine being the brother of Jeff Bezos? Like, he's got all the fame and everything. Anyway, so they're going to be one of the first two people a part of this new horizon.
Okay.
Right. So, and of course, along with this comes a lot of baggage, right? So with people, normal, ordinary people, not like Air Force people, and now of course Space Force people going to space, everyday average fucking jack-offs can now lock themselves in a fucking tin can, hurtling out through the atmosphere at breakneck speeds for a nominal fee of just like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Is fine. I mean, you have that, right? I mean,
yeah.
And they part of this whole thing is that they have to sign a waiver, because we and the crew of the Challenger explosion all know, the shuttle that exploded, as we all know, and so do they, that space is fucking dangerous. We were not meant to go to space. We did not evolve to go into space. We are not. We can't breathe in space.
I happen to disagree. We evolved to adapt, and we adapted in order to go to space.
You know what? That's actually a really good point, and I agree with it. I'm not even gonna put up a fight, because you're absolutely right. But it is fun to pretend that we shouldn't be in space. It's also fun to pretend. It's also fun to act like space doesn't exist. Like, to be space skeptical. I think it's like a really fun bit to be like space skeptical.
That's why one of my few net handles is Flat Moon Theorist.
The moon is flat. What do you mean theorist? I think it's just a fact.
I'm a Flat Moon reporter. Just telling the world.
Okay, so this is Jeff Bezos won't be the first tourist in space. It's already happened. I mean, Virgin Galactic Holdings has their little, their crew, their fleet, I guess, of space-faring vessels, which they are, sending paying passengers on. But the most interesting part about this, in my mind, and of course in Jerry Lynn Schofield's mind, is how the fuck are you going to legally protect yourself if you are a tourist going to space? And I mean, how stupid is it? I don't think that Jerry Lynn here is making this point like directly, but I think that she's like kind of hinting at it. It's incredibly stupid to sell tickets to space, right?
What do you mean? Why?
It's fucking dangerous. The logistical challenges are a nightmare, and it's like every day is Titanic. It's basically it's Titanic in space.
Every day could potentially be Titanic.
Potentially, it will. I mean, just okay, and I'm really glad that my good buddy Jerry Lynn, we're on a first name basis, so she reports in her analysis of this two things that make this whole folly of Jeff Bezos going to space very iffy. She basically is pointing out that one of the very first, the early adopters of this industry, the Virgin Galactic Holdings, had an accident during a test flight in 2014 that killed a pilot and basically just destroyed the ship, the shuttle. And Congress agreed. That's the first one. But the second thing is that the Federal Aviation Administration are fucking boys in khaki at the FAA have basically agreed, because Congress agreed in 2004, to let the space tourism industry self-regulate. Don't we just love that?
That's not super tight at all.
It's not safe.
First of all, no industry should be self-regulated, much less one that's as dangerous potentially.
With as many moving parts and engineering obstacles.
Yes.
100%. And of course, we all know, and if you don't, you're about to learn that the FAA they've ran into trouble with letting people self-regulate before, right? With the Boeing 747 Supermax Ultra Deluxe big boy cigar plane that they're like, where they installed the flight control thing and it was like bugged and had like a hardware issue, and they were like one plane like fucking took a nosedive and like everybody died, and they were like, no, it's fine. We'll just train people. It's like, well, you should have done that when you
just like train people to
how to use the flight computer thing.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah. So,
someone just didn't know how to use the flight computer?
Yeah, no. Okay, so this is a completely different thing, but I'll briefly cover this. So, there was a whole to do with Boeing grounding all of their Supermaxes because there was an Ethiopian flight that was, they were using that plane, and everybody like fucking died because it crashed, because they installed this like automatic control that like is controlled by a single point of hardware that like controls the pitch of the plane based on how the wind's like hitting it. And of course, I'm not a fucking avionics engineer. I'm not going to tell you, sit here and like, the closest I've ever been to engineering a fucking flight is, I paraglide. I strap a motor to my asshole and I have a parachute and I just fly through the air. That's as close as I get.
Weird flex, dude. I thought you were like not a class trader.
Got that Langley money, so what am I going to do with it? Buy a house? Start a business? No.
You like to brag, huh?
Yeah, well, I'm getting... See, no, you almost made me do it. You almost made me tell everybody how much money I'm getting. Anyway, so...
I know.
I do drive a Cadillac, if anybody's wondering. So basically what happened is that it's incredibly stupid because it's like it's a single point of failure, right? There's just one sensor that controls it. And it happened in a previous flight where they were basically in a nosedive that they couldn't abort because the flight control took over and their sensor was fucked up. Okay. And the whole thing about it was that they upgraded these planes and told all pilots and, relevant users and officials, all key stakeholders in the flight of these commercial jetliners, they basically said you don't need any additional like training. It's just an update and expanded passenger capacity. And that was like a marketing point for them, right? And there was this huge blowout. I mean, fucking, Boeing stock just took a nosedive. And it was all over of course, Boeing is a defense contractor. Yeah, and so they're very much in bed with the United States government.
Obviously.
Yeah, it's just like Raytheon and Lockheed Martin
all
and
the main...
General Dynamics and so on and so forth. Right, so one of the big like talking points for that was, should the FAA allow self-regulation to continue?
Okay.
And of course, in true American fashion, we basically said yes.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, I'm being reductive here, but like nothing changed, and Boeing is never going to recover. But we're just all going to sit here and pretend like, nothing really happened and everything's good, hunky dory on the fucking,
What do you
on the
mean
fucking.
Boeing's never going to recover?
Oh, but Boeing's never going to fucking recover. Do you know how much money they lost? They had to ground the Supermaxes for like a crazy amount of time. Like a long time. So if that's the sort of history is a ever advancing spiral. It never stops progressing and changing and moving with the arrow of time, but things cycle. And this is that cycle, but for space.
So when was the Boeing thing?
This was like last year.
Oh.
Or no, was it last year? No, it was like I think it was the end of 2019 and beginning of 2020. But we don't have a Jamie, and we'll never have one apparently. So you can fact check it yourself, guys. Which you should get into the habit of doing.
We're both sitting here in front of computers, but you're right. Actually, no, you're right, listener.
Yeah,
you should be fact checking.
It's on you. It's not on us. It's on you.
It's not on us to make sure we're telling the truth.
Plus, like I've said many times, off and on mic, I'll leave it to the reader as an exercise. So if we're expecting the FAA to just let the space tourism industry self-regulate, we might not have a Jeff Bezos, which Jerry Lynn is very quick to be like.
Jerry Lynn, the author of this article.
Yeah. She signs off. This is so fun. She signs off the article. Bon voyage, Jeff. Have a safe flight. So good. And so this is what she has to say about the self-regulating, right? Self-regulation means the industry will regulate itself. Duh.
Whoa.
Duh. Yeah, we know, Jerry Lynn. How much training do the companies think is appropriate before they'll rocket you into space? According to yesterday's Wall Street Journals, the companies provide training over 2 or 3 days. Virgin Galactic's preparation includes sessions with its pilots, instructions on weightlessness, and time in a cabin mock-up. The company offers passengers optional flights in aircraft that simulate zero gravity, as well as a time in a centrifuge that replicates some of the Force's astronauts, which are we really calling consumer, like, fucking, like, tourist astronauts? Come on, dude. Experience during flight. So basically, they're giving you a crash course, pun super intended, on fucking how you're gonna survive in space. Whereas we give NASA scientists and fucking Air Force people and I guess Space Force people now, I'm sure they have literally so much ongoing training, constant training to get prepared to do space shit.
Well, yeah, it's fucking like when I was a kid, to be an astronaut took decades of academic preparation and physical readiness and exclusion, and there was only like 10 out of every million people that wanted to be an astronaut that actually ended up being one.
Yeah.
So now you can just
you can
be rich.
Literally pay to win.
Just be rich and hang out for a few days and talk to the pilot and learn how to use the suit.
Drink mimosas.
Which
do
honestly,
some yoga.
It makes logical sense that we would head in that direction where like space flight, like we've got it down to a point where like an idiot could do it, that does make logical sense that we would reach that point. How we get there is also very important, though. Definitely can't be letting people self-regulate. That shit's stupid. Like, right? It's like the government was just like, well, we don't know how to do this. Y'all apparently do, so have fun, Yeah. Maybe they're just assuming that like the loss of profits will incentivize them to do as good of a job as possible, but like all of these companies, like it's a dark but real fact that all of these companies have like a certain acceptable margin of loss, Yeah. Which means lives when it comes to shit like that, or companies like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, this is an incredibly stupid fucking thing. I don't know what else to say about it. Like, I hope he dies. I'll say that. I hope he fucking dies.
Honestly,
So, fuck him.
wouldn't be a loss.
No. Yeah, and I mean, just, you know, I talk shit about snark in journalism. And I have frequently brought it up, and we'll bring it up again, that I think that snark in journalism is a bad fucking play. I think doing that obscures what you're actually like covering, and I also think that it puts implicit biases, not even explicit biases.
I can
out
hear
there.
the but a mile away though. But in this instance, they're being genuine.
In a news blog, I think because it's targeted at fucking Jeff Bezos, I think it's so warranted. I think it's fine because and this is something I didn't know, because this lady that wrote this, Jerry Lynn, is a lawyer, so I assume that it's coming from a place of authority, and maybe not. Maybe that's a bad assumption to make, but it's an assumption I'm gonna make anyway. And she's saying, basically responding to the price tag on people wanting to go along with these flights, right? $4.8 million was the highest bid to go on this trip with Jeff Bezos. And she responds to that and says, "That's a lot of moolah." We love a slang using queen, right? We love a casual writer. Okay, we love journalism that's kind of puts a chair in front of you and with the back facing you, and then kind of sits with their arms on top of the back of the chair, backwards on the chair. We love a casual presentation with that. And she says, when people with such gargantuan resources die in an accident, the executors of their estates are more or less required to sue. So that's in her opinion, I think this is one of the things that she's mostly like concerned about. Obviously, people are looking at this and be like, "Oh, fuck Jeff Bezos. I hope he dies." Same, bro.
So what she's saying is that like any one of these trips is inherently a huge financial liability.
Exactly.
Because in order to even be on the trip, you have to be wildly wealthy, and all of these wildly wealthy people's estates will backlash immensely hard, given the inevitable negative consequences of these flights.
Yes. Yeah. And I just want to put an end cap here and read you this selection and maybe leave it on this note. Because Jerry Lynn, our good friend of the show, by the way, says accident law is mostly a matter of state law.
She's welcome back anytime.
I want to have her on the pod.
Yeah.
I asked her before we started recording. I called her. I was like, "Yo, Jerry, you getting on the pod or not?" She's like, "Who is this? How did you get my number? You know that I live in New Jersey." And I was like, "I thought you lived in Missouri, but whatever."
Come on to Little Italy.
Yeah, come on down, baby girl. We'll have you on the pod. It's fine. Just bring your own mic, because I don't know.
We only have two.
We only have two. We got to get a third. And you know what? I'll put in a requisition form with my handler, and we might be able to get it reimbursed.
What? Cool. All right.
So gonna fucking drop this selection on you. Accident law is mostly a matter of state law, and most state courts enforce waivers of liability for negligence. Most, however, will not enforce waivers that purport to protect the defendants against claim for gross negligence, or for international torts for that matter. Don't know what that part means, but that's fine.
International torts?
Yeah, I guess that's like a pecan pie from Spain or something.
You're thinking tart.
Anyway, so I'm going to continue with this. Waiver or no waiver, there will inevitably be lawsuits. If something goes wrong, more on that point in a moment. But first, I'd love to get a look at one of those space carriage contracts and see the handiwork of very clever lawyers trying to insulate their space company clients from liability. Many billable hours, this is how you know she's in the industry, folks, have no doubt gone into specifying choice of law, venue, jurisdiction, and arbitration provisions to govern disputes. By the same token, I'd love to see the contracts people sign to be guided up Everest. If anyone has one, please send. How do I know there will be lawsuits? Well, because there's inevitably going to be serious injuries or death at some point. Space travel is no walk in the park. Yeah, no joke. It's an inherently dangerous enterprise. So, it's a legal clusterfuck.
Yeah, obviously.
Looking to happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's Naked Capitalism, folks. That's Jerry Lynn Schofield. We love you, Jerry.
Love to have you on.
Big fan.
Okay. So to move on to the topic of the week, we are gonna switch seats a little bit. So.
Oh yeah, let me get up.
Yeah,
Here, let me shuffle.
So. This week we're talking about space imperialism and why it's bad. No, specifically, there's a little clause in the CARES Act that was written 1 year ago.
Addendum.
Addendum?
Addendum.
Well, it was fucking one of the
Addendum.
things that was stapled onto it, stating that the government would...
they just put a piece of printer paper with like Crayola crayons like written up,
Just,
like
stapled
just
it.
stapled to the back of the bill. It said,
Yeah. It said, you're going to talk about aliens. No, but that's what it said. It said that by the end of the next fiscal year, the government would release a report speaking on the nature of UFOs and the government's relation to it and what they know about it. And there's no telling like how forthright they're going to be. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that they will not be entirely forthright, and I'll get into that in a second. But that's a big thing that's about to happen on the 25th of this month, by the way. So in 14 days, in 2 weeks, that report will be due out, which is going to be interesting. But so the only reason I know about any of this is because I've been watching and paying attention to this guy named Stephen Greer, who's a little bit out there. I'll get just say that off the bat. He's like one of those quote unquote ufologists. One of those people who just speaks publicly on the topic.
You apologist.
Yeah, he gives people excuses for being you.
I don't need an excuse. But yeah, some people probably do need an excuse to be themselves.
Yeah. So he's a famous ufologist. He's released a couple documentaries on the subject. He's basically like the exact opposite of the warmongering archetype, you know, like we need to protect the government and the world and we need to stock up on weapons. Like he's like the antithesis of that guy. He's like a total hippie about it, and he's all about like communicating
Disgusting.
and establishing like a peaceful working relationship with any extraterrestrials that he believes staunchly do exist.
So he's like psychotic.
I
He's like
mean,
having a psychotic break.
If you
A really long one. Like one that's taking like has built him an entire career and like life mission.
I mean, he's like fucking 65. He's been literally doing this shit for
Dementia.
about
That's what it is.
3 or 4 decades.
Oh, okay.
Like since
Fuck.
the 90s
That's
or
a
late
lot.
80s.
You know what? He probably took some fucking acid in the 90s and just never came down.
Yeah, probably. Entirely possible because of the shit this guy says. Some of it's actually like pretty fucking wild. Like he's okay. So I'm just gonna defend my self for a second because he seems mentally stable. And I like.
Cool, bro. That's
like
what's up.
I like to entertain.
We love
the
to
idea.
see a mentally stable king.
I like to entertain the idea that if aliens do exist, it would be a good thing. And he is definitely all on board with that concept. And he's all about like learning from extraterrestrials. But he's also like so far on the left side of this whole situation because he's just like he does believe, and he's like said this in a recently released video, that a properly executed relationship with extraterrestrials would result in like a society that is free from like poverty and
So Star Trek.
yeah, like literally
That's
like
literally the plot of
Pretty
of
much.
Star Trek First Contact.
yeah.
Okay, so maybe he didn't do acid. Maybe he's just watched a lot of sci-fi.
Maybe, but you know what they say, sci-fi
G-
precludes
G-
history.
Yeah, well, if you're fucking Elon Musk, you probably believe that.
So yeah, like that's where this guy stands, but he also happens to know a whole lot of people who are also involved in this kind of thing, and including and especially the villain of this situation, Louis Elizondo, who.
Wait, hold on. So but he doesn't actually know any aliens.
Oh no, okay, I forgot to get into that. One of the documentaries he released was called "Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind," and I've spoken with you personally about this in the past because
Don't fucking out me like that.
I think these ideas are interesting and fun if they are real. But he has this whole like system for communicating with extraterrestrials via meditation and like projection of intention. And
has he claimed that, or has he spoken publicly anywhere to say that he has indeed made contact?
Several times. Many times.
This man is crazy.
No, and honestly, he has a whole lot of. First of all, there are a lot of examples of him doing this, but he has a whole lot of examples of himself making personal contact with aliens, and a lot of the people that he follows, or that follow him rather, have this very similar stories to him, saying that they've also like used his methods to make contact and shit.
So it's like a machine elves type situation.
It could be. It could be. If that's what aliens are, if they're like interdimensional things, which machine elves may or may not be, which are the DMT critters, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know.
For anyone who
hasn't
doesn't
watched Joe Rogan.
who doesn't listen to Joe Rogan. Disgusting.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's where he stands. He's on like the total hippie side of things, being like, we can be their friends and they can be our guiders, you know, like shit like that. But he is currently very outspoken against this Louis Elizondo guy, because he is like the antithesis of Greer in that he is also quote unquote a ufologist, but he's like this ex-military dude. He's like, you look at him and he looks like he makes videos in his truck being mad at immigrants, you know, like he's that fucking looking kind of dude. But he like used to work in like army counterintelligence and shit.
Elizondo is definitely a fucking like serial killer name.
Maybe. I wouldn't put it past him, given what's happening right now. But
I think I definitely saw that last name somewhere in Forensic Files one time.
I bet.
I do watch a lot of Forensic Files.
Well, anyway, this guy is currently working, and he's got like a series of like I think he's got like a Netflix series out there. I haven't. I should have watched it prior to this. He's got a series called Unidentified. Inside America's UFO Investigation, or I don't know if it's like his series, but he's on it, and he's one of the most prominent like ufologist people who are like trying to put themselves out there as much as possible, and he's like working with like certain government agencies. He has worked for him for a long time, and he still is he's just been like hopping agencies. But
oh, that's a bad sign.
But his main jam though is just one of fear. He's just like. And he's lying about it, too. According to Greer, he's lying about what we as a country and peoples know about UFOs.
Do they both have the same, like, do they both have the same, like, security clearance?
No.
So would you say that they do or don't have access to the same information?
Not necessarily.
Okay, but they know similar things.
Yes.
Which one do you think knows more? At least as far as you can tell from researching it.
Well, that depends on how you look at it. Assuming that everything that I've heard about these people is true, I would guess Louis Elizondo knows more, but just because he's like working for people in the government who probably know more than most.
So the hippie guy is basically saying you're lying about this information, and he knows more stuff.
Well, the hippie guy is also like well connected.
What's his name? Greer.
Greer, yeah.
Okay, Greer, yeah.
On the flip side of that, you could argue that Greer knows more just on like a basic empathic level, assuming he has met aliens, he probably knows their intentions better than Louis Elizondo does.
Bro, if you don't let me hit that fucking blunt right now, I'm literally, I literally can't do it.
No, okay, no. So like the main reason this guy is speaking out against Louis Elizondo is because Elizondo is like a big mouthpiece, basically for the intentions of defense contractors.
Hold on, pull up a picture of him. I want to see if he has a big mouthpiece. Oh, that boy got some DSLs. He does have a big mouthpiece. Oh yeah, I can't actually see it. I just wanted the opportunity to make that joke.
So, yeah, like his main talking points are basically two things. One, that we don't know what they are, meaning UFOs. We don't know what they are. But according to Greer, we fucking do, because the government has said through some means that I am just speaking through from what this guy has told us, but the government has said that a lot of the UFOs that we see are man-made. From whatever government that made them, we as a species made them. But then some of them aren't. Like half of them are ours, half of them are not ours. And a lot of people have been saying this for a long time, but that's what Greer maintains. And that is what Louis Elizondo is not saying. He's saying that we just don't know what they are. And he's also saying that they're a threat to us, which is the other, like, quote-unquote big lie.
I mean, this to me just sounds like a fucking ploy to get the Space Force to fucking give out government contracts.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So I mean, and I just, I saw the other day in the New York Times, they were saying, intelligence officials believe that at least some of the aerial phenomena could be like experimental technology for arrival power, and that's sort of like what the fucking skeptics like take on this. I think is, and I'm not putting myself in that camp because I don't know. I want aliens to be real, but it's like I don't know. I wouldn't call myself a skeptic, but to me, the most likely thing about this is that it's like, they're banking on people seeing these announcements and the rational narrative being the winning one, and then people realize it's or think, not realize, 'cause it's probably not true, but think that it's something from Russia or China. And they have this fucking like hovercraft, fucking gravity defying thing, and I mean, so just from the same New York Times article where they're talking about this stuff, they reported one senior official briefed on the intelligence said without hesitation that U.S. officials knew it was not American technology. He said there was worrying among intelligence and military officials that China or Russia could be experimenting with hypersonic technology.
Which, first of all, they probably are. Given that our government is, I wouldn't put it past any other powerful world government to be doing the exact same shit. But it's like exactly what the people who are like on the peaceful side of this situation are. That's what they fear that this announcement is going to be, that the U.S. government is going to be like, this is probably that the UFOs are probably the product of some other rival country, and we have to like beef up our defenses against them in space.
See, I don't even believe that.
I mean, that's what the fear is, and that's what the expectation is.
Do you know what a limited hangout is?
No.
A limited hangout was something that was attributed to this guy, the CIA deputy director. It's something Italian. I can't remember. Victor Marchetti. Okay, and basically the idea here is that you give people just enough information about something that's like secret or whatever, classified, and the information that you do, it is technically true, but it's like something that's decontextualized or it's like specifically leaked to guide the narrative or guide public opinion a certain way, or make in like the spy, like clandestine secret agent industry, one person thinks one thing because you've let them on to a little bit of what you're saying. So to me, this whole UFO thing just reads completely like that. Is that they're essentially trying to, scare people into supporting the new frontiers of weapons. The next generation of U.S. defense against whoever. I
mean, it's been a while since we've had a good war. Those defense
That's
contractors are hungry.
That's the thing, is that it's still going on. It's just changed. Like the war's just changed. Like it hasn't been a long time since we've had a good war.
A good war.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is because people get so fucking desensitized to the nature of conflict and what fucking like wars and imperialistic fucking ventures the United States is pursuing and getting all its buddies to pursue. It's like war fucking is always changing, always developing, and this is just a big play.
I actually know a reputable actor who would disagree with that statement. He once told me in a video game, war never changes.
The fuck? Bro, are you a PC gaming nerd? This is the first I'm finding out about this.
This is Fallout 3, dude.
That war, it never changes thing, I think, was also in Fallout, like the first one, right?
Probably.
The opening cinematic.
That would make sense. So yeah, there's actually one more mildly interesting wrinkle to this story, is that recently a famous lawyer named Daniel Sheehan, who is a constitutional and public interest lawyer. He's been involved in a whole lot of like really big profile cases, like the Pentagon Papers, Watergate, a bunch of other shit that's like got to do with like he defended a whole lot of people who were protesting in the Dakota Access Pipeline.
Dapple. Hashtag land back. And I fucking mean that shit for real.
So he genuinely is in practice a man of the people. Like he really does try to like be a force for positive change in his lawyerness. But he's also been involved in a whole lot of public cases about Disclosure Project events, which is talking about UFOs and releasing information about UFOs to the world and shit like that. And he is currently, very recently, started representing Luis Elizondo, which is like not what you would expect.
That's crazy. What
the
fuck?
Stephen Greer happens to claim that he is a good friend of Daniel Sheehan, because they've both been in like a lot of the same circles talking about UFOs publicly and shit like that. And he claims that Daniel Sheehan told him directly that his intention is to convince Luis Elizondo to stop being a mouthpiece for the war machine and to change his position publicly and tell the truth about UFOs.
That's crazy.
His Daniel Sheehan's claimed goal is to bring Luis Elizondo to the light side.
Shit, y'all. You don't even have to fucking watch The Bachelor to get this kind of shit. You could just literally, it's just this is good fucking drama.
And he says he told Greer, or according to Greer, he told Greer that if he does not achieve this goal by a certain point, he will stop representing Luis Elizondo.
I'm not gonna present myself as like a fucking like skeptic in like an asshole way where I'm just like there's no evidence for that. Blah, 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 blah. But what this sounds like to me is, those motherfuckers that get wrapped up in the you name your institution of evil, the military, the cops, the so-called fourth estate, the journalism machine.
I've never heard that phrase before tonight, by the way. It's like the second time you've used it.
Fourth estate?
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Yeah, it's just like a reference to like there's the government, and then there's like private institutions, and then there's journalism, right? Or I don't really know exactly where it comes from, but it's basically just saying that like journalism as a field is an integral part of civic society, you know, and it's kind of outside the private business or governmental, you know, stuff. Or like, you know, I think actually it was when it was coined, there was also like the royal family, or like the royal, like, you know, the office of royalty, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But basically, I mean, to me, this guy being like, no, I promise, guys, I'm gonna like try to get him to chill the fuck out and not just be foaming at the mouth constantly about, you know, fucking like wanting to shoot aliens with lasers or whatever the fuck he wants to do, or like sonic weapons. I don't fucking know.
Just nuke the moon.
Yeah, some shit like that. I'm sure he's probably thought about, but I hear that all the time from incredibly, and maybe I'm cynical, but I hear that all the time. That's why you're here. Yeah, right. But I mean, I hear that shit all the time from incredibly like naive people, right?
Yeah.
Where they're
change
like,
it from within.
Yeah, I hear that shit all the time. They're like, that's what it sounds like to me. And I had a person tell me, will not be naming them, will not be making very explicit references to this conversation, but I had somebody tell me, like, they took a pretty sus job doing something, you know, and they were like, but yeah, I see it as like they're willing to pay me money. It's like a lot of money. It's good money. And I'm like doing my part to like kind of shape what they're doing. And I see that as like
a justification for taking the money.
Exactly. And I see, I want to be nice and be like, you know, I think that's because if that did work, I think that is a very noble goal for someone who actually has principles. It's a very stressful and hard thing to do for someone who actually has hard and fast principles. But from personal experience, what I know, and that may not be worth a whole lot, but what I've seen and just in historical examples, people's principles go out the window.
So, given this attorney's track record, which is either very, very intentionally crafted to make him look like a saint, or
damn, now we're going with the conspiratorial thinking,
or is just genuine.
That was my goal.
Given his track record, assuming he is genuine, he's probably more on the naive side of that situation, thinking he can change the situation.
Okay.
Without
well, in that case, I have some respect for him.
I want to have that same amount of respect as well.
Yeah. When people truly are naive going into it thinking that, you know, I kind of look at it and I'm like, I think your heart's in the right place. I just don't think you're gonna hack it.
You can try,
and I have to have respect for them.
Yeah.
You know.
So yeah, that's really all I had to talk about on the topic. And it's just going to be interesting to see what they say on the 25th.
Oh, I'll be fucking my shit'll be glued to the screen.
Yeah.
Watching for that shit.
Yeah.
Day.
Personally, I love the idea of aliens being a thing we can communicate with.
I want a fucking alien.
I mean, obviously.
That's what you're in it for.
Obviously.
I know that's what you're
that's
in it
not
for.
in priority 1. It's like priority 3. But
Jesus, that high, huh?
No, I definitely just, you know, that shit's so fucking tight. Like, how could you not want like the best out of that situation? You know?
Yeah, you told me that you don't fucking watch Star Trek. I think knowing that, or like hearing that you have that opinion, or that's kind of the way that you look at aliens if they're real, which they're fucking not. Anyway, but so I think you should go and watch Star Trek, bro.
It's on the list. It's on the to-do list. So, anything interesting this week? What you got going on?
I mean, I kind of had my life changed. I was listening to a live set. It's just one song really, but it's like a 23-minute song of My Morning Jacket, which is a jam band for anybody. I won't say any particular names. If anybody's listening, My Morning Jacket is a jam band. So don't fuck with me. But if the listeners at home are curious, I'll just tell you what it was. It was My Morning Jacket live at Red Rocks 8/2/2019 song, 14th song in the set. Don Dante, 27 minutes and 13 seconds. It will fucking change your life, folks. I was like, fuck it. It felt like I was stoned, but I was not. And it was fucking, well, yeah, because you're fucking smoking that weed over there. But on the subject of jam bands, I just want to clear the air for people, because I kind of think that the Dave Matthews Band gets a bad rap. And actually the Dave Matthews Band isn't that bad. They're kind of like the final frontier of jam bands. Despite hating jam bands being a meme, lots of people who are into the jam band scene like a lot of the bands associated with him. Just to name a few that have gotten some widespread,
Panic.
Ooh! That was a hot-ass joke. Nice, dude. So just some ones that have gotten some mainstream commercial, critical, or non-cult status. You have the Allman Brothers Band, My Morning Jacket, like I said, Grateful Dead, Tedeschi Trucks Band, Old Crow Medicine Show, Pink Floyd, Government Mule.
Government Mule.
The list could really go on. But I think it's time as a society that we give Dave Matthews Band another more charitable look. There's a reason that their mammoth of a record, Under the Table and Dreaming, brought the band worldwide fame and was eventually certified 6 times platinum. And as of 2018, the band had sold more than 20 million concert tickets. I can't do the rest of this. I'm so sorry. The Dave Matthews Band sucks so bad, dude. I literally had this all written out. I was gonna pretend that the Dave Matthews Band was sponsoring this podcast. I'm so sorry for breaking character. I literally can't read this shit with a straight face.
Your inner jam band nerd just won't let you fucking do it.
I'm so sorry. Fuck. I feel like this is a podcast breaking moment.
No, this is the content people come here for.
Fuck. I had this whole thing planned out. Shit. Well, I guess I'll. You know what? Okay. So usually I do the topics. You did the topic today, so I'll let you take the floor for the bullshit section of this.
Today I installed a bidet. And
that
you know what?
Getting his ass clean.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, I've been thinking about getting one of those.
I just gotta say, watered up at the butthole is a good situation, man. It's nice and clean, and like
this is that sex positivity stuff.
No, this is not sex positivity. This is hygiene positivity. This is like you take a poop and you wipe, and it takes a while. Like you gotta wipe a lot. You save so much fucking toilet paper with a bidet.
Do you not eat fiber?
What? Anyway,
I have ghost poops like frequently because I eat healthy.
I mean, I have ghost poops sometimes, but
I just had one today. It was fucking great.
But the bidet saves so much fucking toilet paper. It just cleans everything, and like you're basically just like wiping yourself dry when you wipe. It's awesome, and it feels good.
Fuck, I know. I want one of those so bad. And really, honestly, the thing is that you could literally have an impromptu fucking get your ass ate session.
True. If you have a bidet, you're always ready.
You're always ready. And if you that's the 1-2 fucking punch.
That's the selling point.
The 1-2 punch is the bidet and the wet wipes with the alcohol. So you get it washed and then sanitized.
All right, yeah.
Ooh, that's the fucking play. I've been thinking about this for a while. And now, you know what? Now that you're telling me this, because I don't know. I'm a fucking sucker for online shopping and retail.
By the way, it was like cheap as shit. It was like $40.
No, I know. I
and
just haven't pulled the trigger.
It took like 20 minutes to install.
Fuck. I know. I literally know this. I just need to pull the trigger.
It's so good.
Fuck yeah. You're living that high life.
And I've only pooped in it once. And I'm already in love with it. It's great.
Love at first sight.
Mm-hmm.
I do have one more thing I want to say. as Jason Woodbury points out for Pitchfork in 2019, Dave Matthews Band's songs weren't as intricate as those of Phish or as overtly Southern as Widespread Panic, but they were sprawling and accessible. In a post-Dead world following the death of Jerry Garcia in 1995, people were eager for exploratory music with distinct pop leanings, and Dave fit the bill. In fact, most of the band's songwriting is an exercise in playful contrast. My own words, of course. The Pitchfork guy is done speaking. It's me, Chad Smith. In fact, most of the band's songwriting is an exercise in playful contrast, playful contrast, in resolving contradiction. DMB is a master at crafting a song that simultaneously follows a pop rock structure, but breaks those constraints with freeform jazz, funk, and soul grooves. Their music is a bitter emotional chaser to the jubilant love of love and letting the good times roll. Their music makes you feel at home in being lost. The fact that so many people have yet to acknowledge the Dave Matthews Band as one of the pinnacles of songwriting and song listening just shows you how scared that most average motherfuckers are of a mass culture based on complex emotions and having a good time, based on eating shrimp cocktail like you don't have an EpiPen waiting for you when you get back in the car and your throat is so closed up that you can't breathe. A society which thrives on finger fucking your grandma. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so today's episode was brought to you by Dave Matthews Band. Never stop having incest is the tagline for their band. I didn't write it. They're just paying us to just say it.
Love those guys and their money. Thanks for listening, guys. This has been Discourse.
Have a good one, everybody.